As we continue on with our program this morning, Sparrows Christian Academy has received a donation of books and assorted items from Deke Stevens from Indiana, USA, who is currently in the country working together with Sparrows Christian Academy, building a relationship with them. Sunrise was there. Have a look.
We have a academy. We have a Montessori school in the town I live in, at the church where I go, and they are now a sister school to this school. So when I came over, I wanted to come see this one in order to go back and tell them about it and show them the pictures. And they've been raising support for Malawi for the floods last year. The children there raised a lot of clothing and things for the children here in Malawi. So we have a great interest in Malawi in Indiana with the Malawi Project and with the Redwood Montessori School. And so this one now is a sister school, and they'll communicate back and forth by Zoom. We have put textbooks in 1,000 schools in Malawi. So we've been all over the nation through Mr. Timbo and Action for Progress. We work throughout the nation in every district. We donate pencils, paper, all kinds of school supplies to the schools. We donate medical supplies to over 600 medical facilities in Malawi. We have agriculture programs going in the north, the central, and the south. So we have a multitude of programs that we're working with all over the nation. We have been for 30 years.
So you've been involved with the Malawi Project for more than 30 years, and I'm wondering, why Malawi?
Well, the North Central Church of Christ in Indianapolis, Indiana, where we started attending, was supporting a native preacher in Malawi. And so that's how we got acquainted with it after we had been involved in mission work for a number of years. Got involved in it, and Susie and I made our first trip to Malawi in July of 1993. Before leaving to come back to the States, we had fallen so much in love with the people there, we determined we'd spend the rest of our life helping Malawi. So we came back and 7 years later formed the Malawi Project and have been sending supplies and assistance to Malawi ever since that time.
You said you fell in love with the people there, so what makes them so endearing?
It's a village culture where the idea of it takes a village to raise a child is played out in Malawi when the village feels responsible for everybody within the village. They care for everyone. It's a nation that's never been in a war to invade another nation, nor have they ever been invaded. And they're just a very kind, gentle culture of people that just wants to get along with everyone and be kind to everyone. And we just fell in love with that culture.
I understand the cities are modern, but what's it like outside the cities?
Well, the cities, when we say the cities are modern, they're modern in the sense of what might have been in America about 75 years ago. But when you get outside the city, you're in a culture that goes back 1,000 years. You're in ancient mud hut villages, just like a National Geographic special, where people live in the mud huts. They walk everywhere they go. They have no electricity, no running water, no police or fire protection. They just simply live in that village unit or family unit as they did many, many years ago, cultivate their own crops by hand and provide for each other, take care of each other, look out for each other. Very much of a biblical culture. Yeah, what you expect from the Bible for people to be like is what the culture is in Malawi.
I have personally seen tractor trailers loaded here in Lebanon, fully loaded up with donations. And while food, and clothing, and shoes are the huge component, tell me about some of the more unique donations that have made a huge impact.
Well, we've sent medical supplies over. We've now sent 362 40-foot shipping containers to Malawi over the years, and that's about $300 million in aid. We've put medical supplies into over 600 Malawi medical facilities, and school supplies and textbooks in over 1,000 of their schools. So it's a massive support system that has been generated in the States and is massively impacting that small nation of 20 million people.
So we've worked together for about a year now, and you've talked about a person named Wilson. Tell me about Wilson.
In 1999, a young man that just got out of high school had walked 12 miles back and forth every day to school. He graduated from high school, came to the capital to find a job, started going to every business along the road until he came to where we were building a hospital. He applied for a job there. He was put on the payroll to handle part of the payroll and work with us, and he's been with us now since 1999.
A fellow I go to church with up in Brookston, his name is A.J. Batt. I know you know A.J., and he's done a lot of work for the project. I understand he invented a new way for Malawians to plant seed in their fields. Can you tell me about that?
As I mentioned earlier, everything is done by hand. So to plant a crop, the women especially, and often the older women, go one seed at a time, bend down, put it in the ground, put fertilizer with it and cover it, take another step, put down another seed. They do the entire crop for their whole year of food. They do the entire crop for a whole year, one seed at a time. AJ saw that taking place and decided there had to be a better way for them to be able to function, so he invented a device where they can drop them in from the top and go down through the field standing up without having to constantly bend down, stand up, bend down, stand up, bend down, stand up. So it's a revolutionary thing that's going to totally change the way and the speed with which they can plant their crops.
The Malawian children, from what I've seen, seem happy, educated, and well-adjusted. How does this happen in such a poor country?
I think the Bible talks about the fact that the root of all evil is money. And it seems like in our country, many of the problems we face have to do with money and stuff. We've got so much stuff. In Malawi, it's a very simple culture. Children play with sticks, they play with old tires, they play with each other, and they work together in creating those things that they play with. So they don't have a lot of stuff, so they don't want a lot of stuff. So they live in the present, live in today, and work together with each other. They're also taught to be responsible for the village. So if you're an elderly person in the village and you can no longer do your crops and harvest, the children of the village will come and take care of that for you. So they're taught from a very young age to be very responsible, very caring, and very sensitive to the people around them. And that seems to rub off on everything in their lives.
Tell me about the boy who couldn't walk and his involvement with Malawi. Tell me how that came about.
I think you're perhaps talking about Daniel in Knoxville, Tennessee. And Daniel was unable to walk and was not doing well health-wise, but we had the opportunity to go to Knoxville with a Malawian with us and meet with the church where his family attends. Daniel met Napoleon Zombie from Malawi, and at about 12 years of age, Daniel decided he was going to help the children in Malawi. His parents said, well, Daniel, they're in a real famine and it's pretty hard to do anything. You can't do much. He later said to me, that really upset me because I wanted to help the children of Malawi. He persuaded his family to let him take his allowance and buy something for the children of Malawi. So they went to the nearby Kroger store, and Daniel went up and down the aisles to find the right things to send to Malawi. When he came to raisins, he told his mother, I'll buy raisins with my allowance. His mother said, why raisins? Daniel said, well, they have iron, that will be good for their growth, and all kids love raisins. So he bought the raisins, sent them up to us, we sent them to Malawi. Not only did the children start using them, the churches started using raisins for communion on Sunday to make the grape juice. So we put the story on the website, and Dole, the people who know what raisins are all about, sent a 40-foot trailer of raisins to Malawi. To this day, we're still sending raisins, and Daniel is still taking money to send raisins to Malawi. But what came from that for Daniel was that his parents said, we'll increase your allowance if you'll go farther with your exercises. To get more allowance, to get more raisins, to help more children, Daniel started excelling on his exercises. Today, Daniel functions independently, when they were saying back then he would never be able to function independently, but his family contributes to Malawi's children the recovery of Daniel's health and him being able to move about freely on his own as a result of helping the children in Malawi.
It came back to them.
It came back to them, yes.
Most people in the United States have all the food they could ever want, but it is challenging for the folks in Malawi. I want you to tell me about the fish farms too.
Well, one of the things we learned early on was that most Malawians, especially in the village areas, will only have 2 meals a day. They'll have a porridge in the morning, then they'll have some ground corn in the evening with a little bit of greens, and maybe some chicken once or twice a year. So they have little to eat, and they're always on the edge of starvation. So with the Malawi Project, one of the things we've focused on doing was to help them get on their feet and care for themselves. So instead of sending them the food, we set up the programs like the corn planters, the maize planters, and now we have fish farms where they're raising fish for protein. The government supplies the fingerlings. The Malawi farmers raise the fish, and then they're able to sell some and also have some to eat themselves. But they're taking care of the program. We're not sending the food, they're raising the food themselves.
So it's like the old adage, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime.
That's exactly true, and they're doing exactly that. They're raising the fish themselves.
So this reminds me of a project that AJ was working on concerning a brick-making machine.
Well, the brick-making machine certainly was born off the fact that the buildings that we're building, that the group in Malawi called Action for Progress, they need facilities to operate from. So they needed buildings and they needed walls to protect the property. And so when it came time to build those things, we also realized that as they build medical facilities, as they build churches, as everything builds in the country, Action for Progress, or Wilson and his team, are in an ideal position to be able to help other groups in Malawi to be able to build their facilities. So a block making machine, rather than give them the money to build it or go over and build it for them, we give them the resource to build them themselves. So again, they have a part to play, they have a feeling of success in what they're achieving, and they're able to set their own course and provide for themselves through the resources that we bring to the table. With the exception of 2 years during the COVID, we've gone 1 to 3 times every year since 1993. We circle through much of the country in order to see all the programs and know what's taking place, see the needs, to be able to firsthand say, in this country, we have firsthand seen what's taking place and here's what is needed. So the plans are to go back again next April or May. We've taken over 900 volunteers to Malawi in the past 30 years. So we've got a massive program going there of others going with us to help in the country. And we go back usually during the dry season, which is April to October. We'll go back once or twice during that period of time and stay for about 30 days each time.
Returning to the donations collected, how are these goods processed for dissemination to the people?
One of the things we determined early on was, in order to help them help themselves, rather than us set up all the mission points in the country where we would work through, we would actually go to their hospitals, to their schools, and work with the government and with the villages and with the trading centers and community groups in order for them to carry out the programs. So the administrators of hospitals notify Wilson and Timbo and his team. They notify us of the things that are needed in particular hospitals. Then we solicit those things in the United States, send them over to Wilson and his group in Lilongwe in the capital. They take them to that hospital. Then they go back periodically and check and make sure those things are being used properly and continue to function. Same thing with the schools. The school books and supplies are gathered here, sent to the group in Lilongwe. They administer them to the 1,000 schools all over the nation.
Books that I have received today, they are going to help me in education by helping me know more about animals and their predators and how they protect themselves from predators. The knowledge that I want to share with kids from USA is that they should work hard in their studies, and they should always respect their elders, and they should help their friends also to help them achieve their goals. They're going to help us really well because some of them have bad structures in English, so this may help them to improve their English studies. Another way that can help them is, for example, the receptions in grade 1s and 2 will know how to read and they will have more interest in the books. I would like to share with them to work hard and improve in their studies so that they can become more intelligent and become more like Mr. Stevens.
Well, I would like to see you in some years doing some great things for Malawi. Will you do that? Don't let this stop you. Let this be an example to others that God will use you to do good things. Okay? I'm proud of you. You stay with us. Okay? Good.
One day we shall meet again. We know that one day we shall meet again. We've said goodbye, but not forever. We said goodbye, but not forever. We know that one day we shall meet again.
Some of our church members would like to see more local outreach, but not to the exclusion of Malawians.
And what a lot of people don't realize is this does exactly that. If I want to get someone like here, we've got three Nigerians attending worship services here. Now we've got a woman from the Democratic Republic of the Congo attending here. And most of it is because they see what we're doing in Africa. To them, it's Africa.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is attracting people to come to the church because they see the work that's being done and they want to be part of it.
Nice.
So people often don't realize that. They say, well, okay, fine, you gathered all that stuff up and that helps Malawi, but what are you doing to help here? Well, all the people that gave that stuff now know something more about the church.
Yep.
And pretty soon somebody says, I want to be where the action is. I'm going there.
Right.
And it starts building from there. By helping the Malawians unselfishly, we in turn help ourselves. If we focus more on trying to help ourselves, it doesn't work so well in today's culture.
Right.
But people want to help someplace where it seems unselfishly we're reaching out. And God then gives us benefit from that. One of the most unique things I think about the work that we're doing and what volunteers have been able to create was an idea that started with the Malawi Project in the very beginning, was that we wouldn't do for them what they could do for themselves. So all down the line, all the way from the beginning, it has always been a focus that we take the supplies to them, but they have a part to play to administer it. So the Malawi Project owns no buildings. They own no vehicles, yet we've built almost 100 buildings and we've purchased 15 to 20 vehicles, but they're always owned and administered by the Malawians themselves. So they have a responsibility to make those programs successful.